Hello, everyone. Good evening. April is National Poetry Month, right? Laurel S. Peterson. And it is also Jazz Appreciation Month. And earlier this month, the Norwalk Library sponsored a concert. And it was actually a collaboration between Laurel Peterson and myself. And we had some of our colleagues join us. And what we did for that event is we performed all of the songs on my album called Old as New. And Laurel composed and curated poetry to go along with each one of those songs, and we wove them throughout the performance. And we had a grand time, I would say. But there was one poem that Laurel wrote, which I nixed. It was in response to a song of mine called That's Just the Way It Is, Son. And that's the idea behind that song is that throughout history, you see from time to time that someone, the little guy, can actually make a difference in the world. They find something that really gets an issue that gets stuck in their craw for one reason or another, and by golly, something happens when they pursue solving that problem. So this song is kind of a tribute to the little guy who stands up for whatever that issue might be. So I'm going to read to you, and this is the title of the poem. Jim wants this poem to be about the little guy overcoming adversity to do good in the world. I think it's from your collection of poems called Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy. For those of you who know Laurel, that would not happen. But here we go. But before I start, I'm reading it today because it really touched me. I did want to have a debut and get read it to the public. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Okay. The little guy, the miner trapped in the mine that collapsed because fines are cheaper than safety standards. The GM factory worker who on the factory floor spends 8 hours a day on the line, welding or hanging passenger side doors or installing airbags, and then is laid off when the factory moves to Kuala Lumpur. The little guy, like an elementary school teacher with a classroom of 35 kids in the South Bronx who eat their only meal at school every day. Or that guy and his wife running the Pakistani grocery on the corner of Main and Center Streets who were robbed 3 times last month. Or the woman freelancing as a graphic designer because no one hires full-time to avoid paying those pesky benefits. Or my father, who after 30 years as a United Airlines pilot had his pension stolen, reduced and turned over to the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corp because it was too expensive for the company to keep its promises to the union members that ferried people from Detroit to Seattle, from Los Angeles to Hong Kong, from New York to London. Getting rid of the pension, that was the good solution. I'm talking about the little guy, brown ones my neighbor employs, legal, illegal, who cares? Who mow the lawns and build rock walls and blow leaves and shovel snow, nicest guys you could ever meet. And the guy himself who runs his landscaping business out of his parents' house, their garage holding his truck and snowblower and shovels, the kitchen smelling of garlic and tomatoes. And my other neighbor, who works at Wine Nation because it's the only job he can get after working for 25 years as a graphic designer, who needs the health insurance because he and his wife have diabetes. The little guy, like the IBM employees, let go just shy of their 60th birthdays when they would be fully vested in the pension. Or all those homeowners who lost their homes to bankers, who claimed they earned those bonuses, goddammit, and no fucking Dodd-Frank bill was going to keep them from getting what they deserved. The little guy is the rancher who says he can solve his own pollution problems with his neighbors and doesn't need the government sticking its nose in. That rancher doesn't care about the millions of people unable to breathe in China, or even after all these years in LA. He thinks the coal company will listen when he complains about runoff, when his cow's milk starts giving babies cancer, when the global temperature gets so hot, all the grass he needs to feed his cattle dies off. What about the little guy? When the little guy is forced to drive 400 miles, if she has a car, for an abortion, or when her government is interrogating suspects at black sites or holding men at Guantanamo, or when her president is telling her the media is criminal, as if newspapers were secretly blindfolding people and waterboarding them. The little guy is a fool. The little guy needs to remember food lines during the Depression, gas lines in the 70s, peaceful black protesters being blasted by fire hoses, young people in fringe and tie-dyed sprayed with tear gas. She needs to remember backroom abortions and infections and deaths, bank failures and detention camps for Japanese and Jews. Jim says the little guy can make a difference. The little guy needs to wake up. Next up we have, is it Hanane Mala? Is that how I pronounce that? Did I say it right, Hanane? And with fake news.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. My name is Hanan Mala. I'm an ACC student and I live here in Norwalk, and I would like to share with you one of my essays, which is called Fake Media. Life is beautiful. Every human being loves to enjoy. However, in the pursuit of that goal, people go through tremendous challenges, experiences, defeats and successes. We have to be ready anytime to confront and overcome any obstacles that we may face one day. I found myself in a big challenge during a situation during the last presidential campaign, along with the whole Muslim community. I had to push through one of the hardest challenges of my life because of the president's statements, and later on, the executive order to ban Muslims from entering the United States, or to tag them, or to surveil the mosques. I felt so discriminated against by these statements and orders. And I felt the urge to think more deeply about this dilemma and try to be an active member in the society that I can consider myself part of it, and not feel like an element that needs to be eradicated, as the fake media describes, and mislead the general public about Muslims. The first few weeks after I heard the extreme statements of the president, I feel deeply discriminated against, and I had a mixed feeling of deep grief, anxiety, and fear of the future. The future that I have to face, as well as my family and Muslim community I am in. I started contemplating the future of the little kids and how they are going to face bullying in schools. What kind of life will they have to live if they are going to be judged and discriminated against by the society because of what they believe in and the way they choose to worship their God? I continued watching the media as it kept spreading poison through the fake news about Muslims, how Muslims are very dangerous, how this evil religion has brainwashed people and promoted violence, hate, and terror. They were describing us as if we were a malignant tumor in America's body. I was directly affected by this news, not only because I'm Muslim, but also because I do cover my head with hijab, which is a religious sign that makes me easily recognized in the society. And that what was worse than being misjudged is that so many attacks had happened and were still happening against, and especially women in the streets, caused by Islamophobia. I heard about a female Muslim police officer in New York City who was attacked at a subway station. Shootings at some mosques around the country, which is usually not covered with the same importance as other incidents, or even ignored at all by the mainstream media. Many more accidents had happened that just made me afraid of going out with my little kids. I stayed home for a while trying to avoid contact with people. Every time I went out, I started paying attention to how people gave me insulting looks and ignored me as I smiled when I said hi to them. At times, I was shouted at civilly, "Go back home," or "Are you a terrorist?" Someone called me one day when he was passing me. However, I feel it's our responsibility to choose the right source of media that we can trust. News that are current, relevant, and accurate before we accept or consume information. Clearly, the people who shouted at me and mocked me were not informed or cared to be informed. We need to be critical about what we see and hear on TV, newspapers, and social media like Facebook and Twitter. The kind of media that frames the news in a misguided way must be rejected by audiences. Yes, freedom of speech is one of the greatest things that we have in this great nation. It's not permissible in so many other parts of the world, but the media has to be responsible not to blame the action of one group of extremists who call themselves Muslims when they cannot get an answer after you ask them about the pillars of Islam. On the whole entire community of Muslims, of great citizens who love this country so much because it gave them so much freedom than what they once had in their native countries. After receiving a negative energy from my environment, I decided to take action in this war against my religion, as they call it. And I thought, I can do a lot if I come out from my cocoon. As a result, I started attending interfaith services in different churches and synagogues, and that gave me a big relief. When I saw the support of my fellow Americans all over the country and the protesters in the airports when the ban was declared, it really touched me so deeply. This is the great nation that I'm so proud to be one of its citizens. I was also part of a group in my local mosque who organized an open house at the mosque last month so that our neighbor in Norwalk City could have a chance to visit the building and learn about what we do in the mosque and how we worship. We had booths for different activities held from Sunday school to Girl Scout to robotics club, etc. Visitors had a chance to ask questions and take some reference material home so they can have a better understanding of the teaching of Islam. I was extremely excited and happy to be part of this outreach. Now, more than ever, I am more open and not afraid to talk about this subject with anyone anymore. I try to answer people's questions with an open heart and an open mind. I know that the only way to survive under these current circumstances is to have faith and hope, and always look at what we are blessed with, which is the great people around us that support and help us all the time. This trauma changed my life in so many ways, but I have discovered new abilities in my personality. I am stronger now, and I feel prouder of who I am. I have more courage to face this difficult time, and I always try to spread the true spirit and morals of Islam, which are peace and love. And I try to help people around me understand what my religion stands for and clarify any confusion that they might have. My religion is a peaceful one that urges believers to be merciful and forgiving. People also need to separate violent ideology from religion. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like... Thank you so much. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I would like to introduce the next speaker, Lori Southerland, Manhattan College.
Hi. That was really strong, really powerful. I'm glad you got to hear that. I am really glad to be back at NCC. It says I'm from Manhattanville College. That's true. I'm really from NCC. It's where I was for a very long time. Shameless plug. The MFA program at Manhattanville College invites you to a presidential write-in in June that I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to leave flyers on the table. It's a political writing thing that you will enjoy if you go. I'm going to read the first 2.5 pages of what I call a nonfiction chapbook, which is about 40 pages long in total. It started with a sabbatical from NCC that I took in 2013, and I used that time to travel around the country with a trailer and my dog because I wanted to know what was going on out there, because we live on this coast and it's like a bubble. And not even the whole coast, really, just this is the bubble. So I started asking these questions in 2013 and I wanted to write about it, and when Donald Trump started running for president, I got it. And I was scared, and look what happened. So this is from that trip, and it's about, it's called Election Day, Logan, West Virginia. On the morning of the West Virginia primary, a spring thunderstorm passed through the mountains near the small city of Logan, West Virginia. It was an unremarkable storm. Buffalo Creek didn't flood, trees didn't fall over. People recalled later they'd seen at most 2 flashes of lightning. And they thought nothing of it, yet somehow, it was enough of a storm to knock the city's power out. The state office building was dark. The county courthouse was dark. The traffic signals stopped working and pickup trucks crept through intersections downtown with the slow, surf-like swoosh of tires on wet pavement. The sound of the swooshing and the rain rolled up the glass-plated storefronts built close against Stanton Avenue, steep and flat like a canyon, a hollow, a holler. It was dark out all day, and after hours without power, most shops had closed and the city center was a chalice of gloom, stonier and grayer than it normally was, and all around was evidence of helplessness, of power that comes and goes beyond anyone's control. I watched the street through the tall windows in the Hot Cup coffee shop on Stanton, alongside some of the regulars, a small cabal of misfits and roughly arty types who seemed like the sort of people I might like to spend some time with. I traveled a long way to find Logan, a strange place that was not quite unfamiliar to look at, but was difficult to know. Before the morning of the storm and the blackout, I'd spent every morning at the coffee shop and afternoons over at the community college, and I'd coaxed little more than the most tepid welcome from almost anyone in Logan, West Virginia, and I'd not managed to make friends with the Hot Cup regulars at all. I'd been making a study of their reticence. But then came the blackout, and everything was different. That day was too much, and people talked without caring who heard them about the power and the outage and election day, the convergence of these things, about how something so sinister as losing power when people are trying to vote does not just happen without somebody's planning. This was the day of the primary election in 2014. It was a flash in time, nothing momentous, not an occasion for the history books. The more enduringly memorable 2016 general election has since come and gone. And for a very long time, it seems, the chattering classes will not forget about that or stop wondering about it, about what led Americans to a crisis in which everything changed radically in one swift moment that so few had seen coming. That morning in Logan, 2 years before 2016 was part of the prelude. And if in the week or so before the storm came, the Hot Cup crew had been reluctant to even acknowledge a stranger among them, in the dark that day they were suddenly briefly free to show me just how hurt and hopeless they'd become, how truly crushing were the injustices they'd seen living in a remote place in coal country. The blackout was proof of their pain to them. It was evidence that had literally fallen from the sky. There it was again. There was the inevitable, invisible hand that held them like a vice. And now that we could all stare at their literal powerlessness through the glass together, I felt welcome. A thermos stood on the counter of the Hot Cup like a sacred urn, holding the only fresh coffee any of us would see until the power was restored, whenever that might be. And in a coffee shop, one thing that anyone can agree on is the primacy of the coffee itself. And so each pump of the thermos added to the tension. Each successful discharge was a shot in a slow-moving Russian roulette, another lucky hit before the inevitable gurgling, the warning that even this small comfort had run out, and the coffee that had brought us together would also ultimately fail us. When the coffee was done, we might have to go home and face the dark alone. For a moment at least, we had something to gather around, and we drank the coffee and we stared out of the windows and we pondered this strange situation. The truly remarkable thing, I heard Craig, the owner of the shop, telling anyone listening, is that we ever thought this wouldn't happen, that we ever thought they wouldn't pull the plug. Why should we be surprised when they do? Thank you, and thank you, Laura, for putting this together, and all the other people who helped put it together. It's really nice to be here. It really is. So next up, we have Rona Schenkerman, reading from her own work.
I'm honored to be here. What I've heard today has just filled me in so many different ways. You know, I have to say one thing though. My grandfather escaped from Russia into Germany and then here. And he died when my father was 13. And he would always say, this America that you have here, this America you have here, not perfect, but it's better than many other places. And I keep that in mind sometimes. The happiest day that he had was when he became a citizen. I have two different poems. And here we begin. Can you all understand me? I'm very dry.
You're so great, bro.
Okay.
Go for it,
We began as a dream. Our forefathers began in their mothers' turbulent waters. Unable to utter their thoughts, these mothers sang soft lullabies of their dreams of a land that was for the people, for all were created equal. Every voice heard. They nourished their growing infants with prayers of a land, for a land, where there was justice, hope, liberty, and the separation of religion and state. Our forefathers were rocked to sleep with waves washing over them of a more perfect union, providing domestic tranquility, promoting the providing the general welfare of all, and the inability for one man to seize control over all others. It's with these tenets in mind, coursing through their blood, that our forefathers penned our Constitution. Or so we were taught. Thank you, honey. You know, times of pain and terror and hardship, we all need to remember to give love. And sometimes this poem says it. Refuge. In your arms, Isis is cherry red and stains my lips. We stick together as we kiss, our blood running faster than any terrorist plan is hatched. Our hearts beat so loudly, bloody screams are muted. When we join together, our thunder is to such an extreme that no suicide bomb will ever be heard. The collateral damage will be can be thrown in the wash. After we lay together, soaking up one another, this moment, for this time, with the sun's rays reaching in through the window, as if it too were seeking refuge, we are safe.
Okay, so we kind of have a special ending for you. We're going to begin with Professor Susan Gephardt-Burns, who's a professor in our English department here, and she's going to read Eleanor Roosevelt's definition of democracy, and when she's done, her class is going to read for us like one after the other, boom, boom, boom.
The class that speaks together, sticks together. So the students decided to. I will chop. I have wonderful pages of things written by Eleanor Roosevelt. I'm going to pick the two that I like the best. I had things written from her, the 40s, 50s, 60s, but I'll pick two from the 60s, the year of my birth, the decade of my birth. Our trouble is that we do not demand enough of the people who represent us. We are responsible for their activities. We must spur them to more imagination and enterprise in making a push into the unknown. We must make clear that we intend to have responsible and courageous leadership. I love that one, that's from 1963, and another one from also, I will pick this one, yes. Once more, we are in a period of uncertainty, of danger, in which not only our own safety, but that of all mankind is threatened. Once more, we need the qualities that inspired the development of the democratic way of life. We need imagination. So this is twice she said imagination. We need imagination and integrity, courage, and a high heart. We need to fan the spark of conviction, which may again inspire the world, as we did with our new idea of the dignity and worth of free men. But first, we must learn to cast out fear. People who, quote, view with alarm never build anything. Eleanor Roosevelt. Here's my wonderful class, and one student had noticed, she said, it's like a little mini UN in our class. And so this is the last night that we're meeting, and what a wonderful way to end. They'll get to experience a podium and a microphone. And so,
Good evening, everybody. My name is Maria Moreno, and this is what democracy means to my public speaking class. Los saludo a todos en nombre de la paz, de la democracia y la libertad para todos. I greet you all in the name of peace, democracy, and freedom for all. Nelson Mandela.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Estin. I'm from Haiti. I'm reading my own work. Freedom. Freedom. It's not that we are all looking for. I don't even think it exists. Yes, we are tired. Tired of working all day. Our body is so sore. At the end, we are being ignored. That's why you should be careful for who you vote for. Every candidate fights to convince our society. When November comes, it's a different story. Yes, that's the reason I love democracy. Don't get seduced by what you hear. It's important to see the action clear. I need to see a change that can be made. I'm not talking about freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, mais liberté de finance, dans le moment où on peut visiter d'autres pays comme la France. What is the meaning of life if each one of us are struggling to have a normal life? You may be a teacher, you may be a student, you may be a politician, you may be a doctor. Whatever you may be in this life, we didn't choose to let just went down. But at the end, we are all looking for financial freedom. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Zachary Thomas Kowalski, and I'll be reading a quote from Plato and from Gunther Grass. Democracy is a charming form of government, full of variety and disorder, and dispensing a sort of equality to equals and unequal alike. That one's from Plato. And the one from Grass is, the job of a citizen is to keep his mouth open. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Avery Taffy. I live in Stamford, Connecticut. And I'm going to read a quote by the late British politician Charles Kennedy. Democracy demands trust. It demands that sense of mutual understanding. And it's a two-way street. You've got to give as much as you take.
Good evening, my name is Giovanna Ramirez and I'm from Peru. I would like to share this information that I found from my country. It's from Victor Raúl Aya de la Torre, who was a Peruvian politician, philosopher, and author who founded the American Popular Revolutionary Alliance political movement, the oldest currently existing political party in Peru. Aya de la Torre advocated a system of Latin American, or to use his preferred term, Indo-American, solutions to Latin American problems. He called upon the region to reject both U.S. imperialism and Soviet communism. He favored universal democracy, equal rights, and respect for indigenous populations, and socialist economic policies, such as agrarian reform based on the concept of communal land ownership and state control of industry. His quotation that he had well known in Peru was, "Ni con Washington ni con Moscú, solo el aprismo salvará al Perú." Neither with Washington nor with Moscow, only a prism will save Peru. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elisa Santana Oliveira Silva. Yes, I have 3 last names. And I'm from Brazil. First, I'm going to read a quote by a Brazilian writer, Carlos Drummond de Andrade. Democracia é a forma de governo em que o povo imagina estar no poder. Democracy is the form of government in which people imagine being in power. And now I'm going to read a quote by a Portuguese writer who is a Nobel Prize winner, José Saramago. Everything is discussed in this world, except for one thing, democracy. It is there as if it were some sort of saint on the altar, from whom miracles are no longer expected, but it remains there as a reference. And we don't notice that the democracy in which we live is a kidnapped, conditioned, amputated democracy, because the power of the citizen, the power of each of us, is limited into the political sphere to take a government down when we don't like it and replace it for a government we might like, nothing else. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brooke Manna. I'm from Brookfield, and I'm going to be reading a quote from our former president, Barack Obama. Yeah! Woo! Democracy doesn't work if we constantly demonize it, or demonize each other. For progress to happen, we have to listen to each other, see ourselves in each other, fight for our principles, but also fight for a common ground, no matter how elusive that may seem. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Samuel, and I am from Norwalk, Connecticut, and I'm going to read a short and sweet quote from the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Deliberation and debate is the way you stir the soul of our democracy. Thank you.
What can the schools do to defend democracy? Should they preach a specific political doctrine? I believe they should not. If they are able to teach young people to have a critical mind and a socially oriented attitude, they will have done all that is necessary. Albert Einstein, I'm from Guatemala. Thank you.
My name is Alice Gill, and today I would like to share with you Abraham Lincoln speech at, sorry? Is that good? So, hello, my name is Alice Gill, I'm from Colombia, and today I would like to share with you a quote from Abraham Lincoln's speech at Gettysburg in 1863. He said, "This nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, should not perish from the earth." Thank you.
Good evening, I am Joel Prince. I am from Guyana, South America. I would just like to share with you this article from the New Yorker on 2016. It was written after the election by American poet and essayist Mary Carr. So she says, "If you ever doubted the power of poetry, ask yourself why in any revolution, poets are often the first to be hauled out and shot. Whether it's Spanish fascists murdering Garcia Lorca or Stalin killing Mandelstam, we poets may be crybabies and sissies, but our pens can become nuclear weapons. Today I'm examining my values. As a Buddhist pal said to me on election night, America has spoken. Now it falls to us to listen with gracious and open hearts. This is not giving in or giving up. The hardest thing about democracy is the boring and irritating process of listening to people you don't agree with, which is tolerable only when each side strives not to hurt the other's feelings. To quote my colleague George Sanders, let today be national attempt to have an affectionate or tender thought about someone of the opposing political persuasion, and, please God, every day hereafter as well. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? I've never used one of those before. My name is Sheena Stapleton, and I'm from Scotland. And I'd like to read you a poem by Robert Burns, who is Scotland's national poet. He's less well known these days, but he was hugely popular from his death in 1793, right up to the early 70s. He's regarded as a pioneer of the Romantic movement. He was the proto-Romantic poet and influenced Wordsworth, Coleridge and Shelley, but nobody seems to have ever heard of him. But more than being a Romantic poet, Robert Burns was a champion of liberalism. He believed in liberty, equality and fraternity. And he was a supporter of the American War of Independence, as it was called in Britain at the time, and the French Revolution, which was a very uncomfortable thing to be a supporter of in Britain at that time. Even though I told you that I'm going to read this as a poem, it is actually a song, and I'm not going to sing it because I have a terrible singing voice. But it's a very significant song for the Scottish people. It was sung at the opening of the new Scottish Parliament in 1999. And for those of you who follow these things, you will know that this was a significant day in Scottish history because it was the first time the Scottish Parliament had met since 1707. And 1707 was the year that Scotland, as an independent country, ceased to exist and became part of Great Britain, otherwise known as the United Kingdom. That's why it's called the United Kingdom. Scotland's a kingdom, England was a kingdom. So this song is famous for expression of egalitarianism, but it's also about rulers, and dare I say, maybe even about presidents who have lofty views of themselves. This is the English translation from the Scots tongue. There will be some unfamiliar words. Don't worry about it too much. Just listen along and you will pick up the drift. Is there for honest poverty that hangs his head and all that? The coward slave we pass him by, we dare be poor for all that. For all that and all that, our toils obscure and all that. The rank is but a guinea stamp, the man's the gold for all that. What though on homely fare we dine, wear coarse wool and grey and all that, give fools their silks and knaves their wine, a man's a man for all that. For all that and all that, their tinsel show and all that. The honest man, though e'er so poor, is king of men for all that. You see that grand fellow called a lord, who struts and stares and all that? Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a fool for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that, a man of independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. A prince can make a belted knight, a marquis duke and all that, but an honest man's above his might, good faith he mustn't fault that. For all that and all that, their dignities and all that, the pith of sense and pride of work, and higher rank and all that. Then let us pray, come it may, as come it will for all that sense and worth o'er all the earth shall take the prize and all that. For all that and all that, it's coming yet for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that.
All right, I am here to wrap things up, so thanks so much to the class for all the readings that you did. I don't know about you, but I am feeling both super inspired by everything that happened this evening and also really hungry. It's time for dinner. Thanks to everyone for coming. Thanks to the audience, thanks to the readers, to Laurel for having the idea in the first place. This has been lovely. Thank you.